On January 25th, 2005, KAKE-TV received a message from BTK about a cereal box he had left in the back of a truck in a parking lot as a joke on serial killer.
So we obviously called the police.
Investigators immediately rushed to this new lead.
Within the box that he left in the vehicle, there was jewelry from a prior burglary victim back in the 70s, but there was also a note. He said, you know, can I send you a disc and it not be traced? And he said, be honest.
BTK asks police to give him a response in the classifieds of a newspaper with the words, "Rex, it will be okay."
He had a thought in his mind that there was some unwritten rules in this game of cat and mouse that, you know, once he told the police department to be honest, by God, we had to be honest. And we were not.
3 days later, BTK sees the police reply. This leads him to believe it is now safe to communicate through a floppy disk.
In Dennis Rader's mind, he and law enforcement were buddies. They were partners in all of this, and he could not possibly fathom that police would have lied to him.
A few weeks later, police receive a package from BTK containing a floppy disk. They immediately investigate this new important piece of evidence.
On that floppy disk, there was one file. And the file said, this is a test.
That floppy disk was really just his test to see if this line of communication, if it would be successful. He wanted to move much bigger portions of information than just, you know, some cryptic letter or something. I think he wanted to start telling his life story.
Dennis Rader didn't realize that certain information from the floppy disk could be retrieved, that it was not permanently deleted.
There's two things that occurred with that disk. He printed something, and when you print something, the floppy disk keeps track of who the program is registered to. So we knew that it was somebody named Dennis. Also, we could tell that disk had been in a computer registered to Christ Lutheran Church. That was a huge advantage.
I'll never forget that moment, because as the words Dennis came through and then the name of the church, another detective was right there, literally Googling it.
And once you brought up their website, and the only Dennis in Christ Lutheran Church was the head of the pastoral council, Dennis Rader. We were shocked.
Turns out he was a church leader. He has a family, a wife, children. That's why we couldn't find him.
Law enforcement was pretty well convinced that Dennis Rader was their man, but they really needed to match his DNA before they had the evidence to make the arrest.
Detectives decide that rushing to Dennis Rader for a DNA sample would be too risky.
Imagine them going to his house. He'd run if he thought they were closing in on him.
So they come up with a creative workaround.
The police had BTK's DNA from multiple crime scenes, and they went to Dennis's daughter, Carrie's doctor, and was able to get a sample of her DNA from a recent test.
They did a kind of a reverse paternity test.
If his daughter's DNA reveals she's a genetic relative to the DNA left at BTK's crime scenes, detectives will solve this 30-year-long case.
In just 24 hours, the results came back. Carrie was a DNA match with the BTK DNA. By connecting the dots, so to speak, with DNA, they had a slam dunk. They had the ability to arrest Dennis Rader for the BTK murders.
This guy's judgment day is at hand. This is why you become a policeman. Very few people get to slay their childhood dragons.